It's the guy! It's the same guy! Oh my god!
Yo, what's up, chefs? Hope you're having a good time in the dungeons today. In this video, I'm going to be trying out a highly requested bard build that focuses on the flute. Let's get into it. As for the perks, I decided to take charismatic performance because unless it gets changed, I think it's pretty much mandatory for most bard builds. Superior dexterity is pretty much the same and is just super useful in this build, especially for swapping between your flute, lute, and crossbow during fights. Dancing feet for some extra speed while trying to maneuver around players to use lament, shriek of weakness, and ultimately piercing shrill. And then finally, rapier mastery in the event you do end up in some melee combat. Moving on to the songs, it's honestly pretty similar to what I'd be using for a default bard build with maybe one or two exceptions, but starting it off with my right song wheel, which traditionally I use for buffs and is always the same, I've got rousing rhythms, beats of alacrity, a lot of courage, harmonic shield, and aria of alacrity, which I do cast these in this order when I'm in game. Moving on to my second wheel, which is more of like a mid-combat wheel, I've got lament, shriek of weakness, piercing shrill, tranquility, and finally accelerando. You could definitely consider swapping out tranquility for something else, but I don't really find the other options too practical in my experience. And then in this build, I've swapped out Unchained Harmony for Piercing Shrill since it's kind of a staple of what I'm going for. Something important to note here that a lot of newer bard players probably won't understand is that my last three songs I've slotted in this order are Harmonic Shield, Aria of Alacrity, and then Lament. The reason for this is because the +2 all from Rousing Rhythms will give me just enough to cast my Harmonic Shield, and then my lute with a base stat of 4 knowledge will give me just enough to cast Aria of Alacrity and Lament while I've got the lute in my hands, obviously. So this kind of just allows you to focus your actual stats on things other than knowledge and do a little bit of min-maxing. Without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay. Starting off our first game, I spawned one tile to the left of the middle room, go ahead and buff up in the order I mentioned during the song section, and then I just start making my way towards the bottom left of the map to look for some isolated PvP to just go ahead and warm up and get a feel for the build. Pretty quickly, I run into this barbarian that wasn't too geared, which was definitely nice since my bard mechanics were feeling a little rusty to say the least at this point. If given the opportunity, it's always a good idea to start things off with Accelerando for the extra move speed, which comes in handy while trying to land your laments and shrieks of weakness at the beginning of a fight. What? At this point, I take my opportunity to pop a shield pot of my own and go ahead and commit to the fight. It was at this moment I was thinking, oh shit, this build might actually have some potential. Fast forwarding just a few minutes into the match, and I've just cleared my way over to the high traffic static extract area to look for some more PvP. And right before this zombie starts stumbling in from God knows where to try and give me the smoke, I notice the door on the opposite end of the hallway open up and realize I'm probably about to get the PvP that I was looking for. quickly ditch my chest piece here just for a little bit more move speed. Now, I know I'm probably going to get some hate for this one, but everyone loves to say how OP Warlock is at the moment, and I'm not saying this guy played it the best or was super geared, but it certainly didn't look OP in this fight, I can say that much. Moving on, I quickly rummaged through his pockets, taking everything that I think has some value, in which probably the most valuable item was his rare ring with +2 add magic damage that ended up selling pretty nicely before making my way over and camping the static extract to get out safely to make sure I got at least one more game in with the budget kit. Getting started with the second match, and try not to mind me spazzing out because I was having some mouse related issues that I ended up realizing later was actually just my USB port going bad. But anyways, I go ahead and buff up before making my way directly to the middle of the map looking for some other players. As I'm clearing out the middle room, I actually hear someone fighting the giant centipede that spawns off to the left, so I go ahead and buff up real quick before making my way down to look for whoever was doing it. After creeping around a bit and being honestly confused, I end up getting greeted by this barb that hits me for half my HP that I realized later in the video was a font user of invis pots and must have used one at this moment. At this point, a rather long and sweaty fight ensues, and I end up hitting him with a nasty dodge on his Achilles strike Francisca axe, and I'm just going to let this play out with little to no commentary.
No.
I should have played that better.
Oh my goodness, he's at 5 HP. Oh my god. Yo. This would have been the come up. Holy shit, this guy is geared. I got him to 5 HP.
Alright, so as you can probably tell by my live comments, I was a little bummed that I got this guy all the way down to 5 HP, but ended up stopping myself mid-sentence as I started to look over his gear and see that while he wasn't the most geared person I've ever seen in the Goblin Caves, this is the lower ranked bracket, and I mean, come on, he was running double legendaries, he's got 191 HP, 45 strength, 50 vigor, 30 agi, etc. So more than anything, I was kind of surprised by the fact that I made it such a close fight with just my budget kit on. However, don't forget this barbarian because he'll be making another appearance later in the video. Moving on to the gear that I was using with my budget kit, I'll start off by quickly mentioning that there was a patch that just dropped a few days prior to this video being uploaded, which heavily changed the modifiers that can be found on gear. But with that being said, you should still be looking for the same type of stats, just with lower rolls. I also realized after I already lost the kit that I didn't get the best footage of the gear and its stats, but you can see most of it here. As for the weapons, I had the cheapest epic rapier with 30 base damage that I could find, the cheapest buckler with additional armor rating that I could find, and a rare crossbow with +3 add weapon damage. This kit in its entirety would run you anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 gold at the time of recording. As for the more expensive kit that I'll be using for the rest of the video, you can see it on screen now. This kit would likely run you anywhere from 4,500 to 5,500 gold at the time of recording. And just to give a brief overview of the stats I was looking for, the main idea was to stack a lot of additional physical damage to scale my piercing shrill as much as possible. All attributes on all the gear it can come on, a reasonable amount of additional movement speed, and then finally any extra defensive stats that I could slot in as well. Here we are with a little damage check followed by a movement speed check with Accelerando active. As you can see, we're all the way up to 347 movement speed with our flute in hand with Accelerando active, which is pretty crazy. Moving on to our first match with the expensive kit on, and we spawned in the giant spider room, and I pretty much had the same plan as the first match from earlier, which was to head all the way to the bottom left to look for some isolated PvP. I'm pretty much just spawn rushing at this point, and I can tell there should be players by as soon as I see the door at the end of the hallway open, since that is a common spawn point. Holy shit, this is a fiesta. Moving forward, the next minute or so is honestly just a wild goose chase of me trying to track down this naked Timmy Warlock player without getting briefed by PvE. After hitting him with the Shriek of Weakness, it was just one bolt to the back of the dome ski and he was down for the count. Here I just cleared my way to the high traffic static extract area once again, and I end up running into a ranger that must have headshot me at least once because he certainly did a fair bit of damage, so I end up dipping out to pop a surge kit for the time being and end up running into him a bit later. I end up making my way back to the middle room, and as I peek through the door towards the static extract, I see a player, so I go ahead and by opening the door and getting a free crossbow shot off before moving over and stealing some of his hard-earned loot. Following that, I end up taking the fight with the barbarian from way earlier in the match in what I imagine must have been a very annoying way for him to deal with. Sheesh. That guy fucking flew. Let's go. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, 90 times. After reveling over my victory a little bit, I end up taking what I found to be the more valuable parts of his kit and go ahead and make my escape. Moving on to the final match of the video, I end up getting a pretty nasty spawn all the way in the top left, but I'm thankfully able to dodge the trio of goblinos and start making my way to the middle of the map. As I'm clearing the middle room, I hear somebody fighting some goblins in the room next door and go ahead and buff up in preparation for the fight.
Oh, it's the guy! It's the same guy! Oh my god! It's the same fucking guy, but this time I murked him.
As soon as I got his kit, I had one goal in mind, which was to safely extract, so I quickly made my way all the way up to the top right static extract in the room with all of the mining nodes and started to camp. It was at this point that I had a chance to look through his gear, and some of the main things to note was a legendary gear Mumbu with +2 strength and 1% action speed, epic studded leather with +2 all, epic heavy boots with 2 dex and 1.2% move speed bonus, rare heavy leather leggings with +2 all and +1 dex, legendary riveted gloves with +3 agi and +9 magic res, +2 all fox pendant, 2 +1 all rings of quickness, and an epic viking sword with +4 max health. Unfortunately, I did have one more player to deal with before I could extract. Wait, why
Why is there a person here?
Yeah, run away, bro. Run away. Say, brother, just go the other way. Go the other way. No way, this guy's trying to fight me, right? What is he doing? Oh, that did not feel good for him. Snipe. I kind of felt bad for killing this guy because he seemed like a Giga Timmy, but he did end up having a nice +1 all ring for me, so oh well. After looting him, I ended up getting gifted a portal, so I buffed up just in case and made my way out. This video ended up being a bit longer than I anticipated, partially because the build just ended up working better than I expected, so I apologize for that, and if you stuck around this long, I really do appreciate it. But just to wrap things up, I wanted to show a couple screenshots of the items that I got from these runs being posted on the market, and the stuff I got from that last run ended up selling for well over the price of the kit I was wearing at the time, so that was pretty dope. And last but not least, take it easy, chefs.